we have to pay attention to our nervous systems. We have to pay attention to when we're functioning in that way, right?
Mhm.
What's happening? Like, we have to wonder. And if we have
Mhm.
someone reflecting that back to us, that's a gift. Because I thanked him every time. He's like, what's going on? Like, can you just be here? Can we slow down? Can we slow down?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm crawling out of my body.
Wow.
And so, if we're talking about like cheap dopamine, it's not just the phone, right? It's like some of the food we consume, like,
Yeah.
right? Like the energy that we're around, like so much stuff
Yeah.
that now that doesn't mean that we should never leave our homes, right? But I think that if we become aware of the things that stimulate us in a certain way,
Mhm.
at the very and not from a hyper vigilant place, but from a place of like, oh, that makes me feel that way,
Right.
right? Just to be aware, we can come back to ourselves because there's something, again, it's like you're in a hurry or you're chasing something or like what? Right?
Right. Yeah, and I wanna, like, be clear on what, like, toxic or cheap dopamine is or passive dopamine is. It's that instant gratification. It's anything that gives you a quick hit of, like, what we perceive as happiness, like a feel good. And some of the, and so many what we're seeing is many people do not have really high dopamine levels, like good dopamine in their brains. We're seeing that. And then we're also seeing people who have to go on dopamine detoxes because they're yeah, this is a new thing. They're going like on retreats, dopamine detoxes, because they're getting so much toxic dopamine. And so a lot of these are like social media breaks. So you get cheap dopamine from fast food, gaming, TV, porn, drinking, drugs, news, sugar, bad food. I could go on and on, like shopping, like any of those things that give you a quick high,
God.
right? And so now they have deep dopamine detoxes. And I've realized as you were talking, I'm the dopamine regulator in my house. Like I'm constantly feel like I'm energetically, it kind of makes me emotional. Like I feel like I'm not at war, but I'm having to protect my kids
Yeah.
against this like intense infiltration of just so many areas where cheap dopamine's available. You know, so many of their friends play games, so I tried to wait as long as I could before they play games, but also I don't want them to feel isolated. They're homeschooled. They have a lot of fun playing games. So how do I regulate that time? How do I teach them to regulate it? But their prefrontal cortex is not developed. They're boys to like 25. So, you know, like how do I support like their activities that promote good dopamine, like sports create good dopamine. I'm not saying competitive sports necessarily, like, but I surf, good dopamine, gardening, good dopamine, art, anything artistic, creative, cooking, connecting. Like, you know, like music is so beautiful. We're talking about things that you put effort in. Farmers are some people that have some of the highest dopamine levels, like positive dopamine, because you're investing time into creating something and the reward of putting food on the table for your family. Like the reward is like showing up for something, having an intention, putting the effort in, and then seeing it, you know, come to fruition. That's a different kind of dopamine that our
Right.
brains are meant to feed on.
Right.
So I just like when we're talking about this, I wanted to be clear is like the difference between the two. And,
Mm.
you know, I know that when I partake in cheap dopamine, it makes me feel kind of sick in my body. No,
Mhm.
actually, not kind of. It makes me feel sick in my body. It feels makes me feel dysregulated.
Mhm.
And what happens is we're not meant to have all that like video games, for example, it gets higher and higher. Like because you keep like playing the game and then you go again and you're in this unrealistic thing, but the winning and the winning and the winning, and you don't have to really put any effort into it in the way that you would maybe growing food. But what happens is if when you come out of that video game, your brain's like, I need more, I need more, I need more. And then you start to feel depressed. Then you kind of start feel sluggish and not motivated. Nothing in life seems as sparkly as like say porn or your video game or shopping or fast food. So I just said a lot there, but it's a big deal in our culture right now.
It is, and I think that that is so helpful because you just named a lot of like things that, because of the nature of the society that we live in, it can just feel normal.
Right. And
right?
that's so scary.
Right. Right. I can't there is a documentary on Netflix, and I cannot remember it for the life of me, um, that talks about the dangers of social media and why social media, for instance, right? Like the scrolling on the phone, like it is created to be addictive.
They did it. Yeah, they did it on purpose. They knew how the brain worked and they admitted it. Yes, I can't remember what it's called and I haven't seen it cuz I think it'll scare me, but my husband watched it.
Yeah. And so you have they interview people who used to work for Google or, Facebook and all of these big tech companies, and they would say like, no, I will not allow my children, like they would not they were part of creating this, and they would not allow their own children to
Right.
use this
Right.
because they understand the severity of what it does to the brain and therefore the nervous system. So
Yes.
when we look at it from this perspective, we have to ask different questions,
Mm,
right? The first one being why? Why would they create something at a mass scale like that, right?
right.
And everyone can come to their own conclusions to that. And once you answer that why for yourself, how do you begin to take your power back? Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell to be updated on new videos.
Click the video on screen to watch more episodes.